The Bloodline civil war has just taken its most jaw-dropping turn, and the tribal chief has finally broken his silence. Wrestling fans, what you're about to witness could rewrite the history books of WWE forever. Following Jacob Fatu's earth-shaking arrival, saving Jimmy Uso from a brutal assault by Solo Sikoa, Roman Reigns has spoken, and his message changes everything. Smash that subscribe button, because what's coming next in this ongoing Bloodline saga is something no one saw coming. The WWE universe is still stunned after last night's unbelievable sequence of events. In a moment that will be replayed for years to come, Jacob Fatu, long feared as one of the most dangerous Samoan warriors outside of WWE, made a shocking debut. His mission? Rescue Jimmy Uso from certain destruction at the hands of Solo Sikoa's renegade Bloodline faction. But if that moment was explosive, the real detonation came just hours later, when Roman Reigns himself delivered a response that flipped the entire narrative since Solo's shocking betrayal of Roman and the formation of his own Bloodline offshoot. Backed by the deadly trio of Tama Tonga, Tanga Loa, and Jeff Cobb, the WWE landscape has descended into chaos. Solo has been tearing through everything Roman built. Jimmy Uso was simply the next target until Jacob Fatu stepped out of the shadows like a Samoan force of nature. Now, only one question remains: where does the tribal chief stand? The answer came fast. The arena was still buzzing from Fatu's stunning debut. Roman Reigns' iconic entrance music hit the speakers. The crowd erupted as his image appeared on the Titantron. An emotional and rare appearance. The usually unshaken Reigns spoke directly to his cousin. Jacob, you've always been family. What you did tonight? That's the Bloodline way, protecting our own. Standing together. Solo forgot that. But you remembered. Backstage, the reaction was instant. Paul Heyman, caught watching the feed, looked visibly shaken. Seth Rollins, clutching his Money in the Bank briefcase, exchanged tense glances with Braun Breaker and Bronson Reed. Roman's message was unmistakable: the true Bloodline still has strength, and he just endorsed its most dangerous weapon yet, Jacob Fatu. In one night, the entire power structure of WWE has shifted, with Fatu now clearly standing alongside Roman's side of the family. Solo Sikoa's once dominant faction suddenly looks vulnerable, for the first time since its inception. But here's where things get even more intriguing. If you're not already subscribed, you're missing what's quickly becoming the most explosive storyline WWE has delivered in over a decade. So do it now, hit that subscribe button and turn on your notifications, because when Roman Reigns makes his official return, you'll want to be the first to know, and let us know your thoughts in the comments. Is this the beginning of the end for Solo Sikoa's version of the Bloodline? The tribal chief has spoken, and the war is officially underway. The tribal chief has spoken, and the war is officially underway. But just as Roman Reigns made his intentions clear, the world started asking deeper questions. Was this truly a message of unity? Or a calculated move to reassert dominance over a bloodline he no longer fully controls? Because let's be honest, Roman didn't just acknowledge Jacob Fatu, he anointed him. In doing so, he effectively drew a battle line in the sand. On one side, the blood-purged version of the legacy Roman built, battered, but unbroken. On the other, Solo Sikoa's vision, chaotic, ruthless, and now threatened. Immediately following Reigns' address, chaos reportedly erupted backstage. Sources close to WWE management say that Paul Heyman stormed into a closed-door meeting with Triple H and Shawn Michaels, demanding clarity on where things were headed. Heyman, caught in the middle of two crumbling dynasties, is walking a tightrope with no safety net. He once controlled the fate of the Bloodline from behind Roman's throne. Now, he's watching that throne split into factions that might soon crush him underfoot. Meanwhile, Seth Rollins, who has quietly positioned himself as a power player in the void left by Roman's absence, seems increasingly uncomfortable. Aligning with Braun Breaker and Bronson Reed may have given him muscle, but it didn't prepare him for a war this personal. Jacob Fatu's arrival has thrown off the balance. And Roman's words? They've reignited a flame that everyone thought had burned out after WrestleMania. Let's take a moment to understand exactly what Jacob Fatu's debut means. This isn't just another cousin showing up to back Roman. This is a man with a decade of dominance on the independent circuit. A former MLW World Heavyweight Champion. A monster who never needed the WWE spotlight to earn fear and respect. Jacob Fatu didn't ask to join WWE. WWE came to him, and now that he's here, he's not just filling the void Solo left, he's reshaping it. In the words of one locker room veteran, Fatu walks like he's ready to bury anyone wearing the wrong family crest. And now he's got Roman's blessing? That's a nightmare none of us are ready for. Let's not forget Jimmy Uso, the man caught in the crossfire. A brother betrayed. A cousin nearly broken. And now, a survivor of Solo's wrath thanks to Jacob Fatu's intervention. Many believed Jimmy's days in the Bloodline were over. His back-and-forth decisions in the Roman era, his betrayal of Jay, his brief allegiance to Solo, had fans questioning his loyalty, his purpose, even his legacy. But now he's been given a second chance. Rescued. Protected. Redeemed. The real question is, will Jimmy Uso stand alongside Jacob Fatu and Roman Reigns in the coming battle? Or is this just a temporary alliance born of survival? Don't expect silence from Solo Sikoa for long. Sources indicate that Solo has already called a private meeting with his own faction, Tama Tonga, Tangaloa, and Jeff Cobb, to regroup and prepare a direct response to Roman's public statement. And if history tells us anything, Solo doesn't let disrespect slide. Not from enemies, and definitely not from family. What makes Solo especially dangerous is that he believes he is the rightful heir to the Bloodline legacy. That Roman became too political. Too concerned with optics. That the old ways, the tribal values, were lost under Roman's rule. So now, he's not just defending his power, he's defending his belief that Roman Reigns no longer deserves the title of tribal chief. And with Tama Tonga by his side, a man who's been exiled and forgotten by the Anoa'i family before, the fires of rebellion are being fed by years of resentment. This is no longer about titles. This is about identity, heritage, blood. WWE has already begun teasing a massive upcoming confrontation, one being quietly discussed as the battle for the island. Speculation is running wild that this won't be a traditional match. It won't be fought under normal rules. And it may not even take place in a regular arena. Whispers suggest WWE is planning a Bloodline exclusive event, possibly off location, where the two factions will settle their differences in a format never seen before. Think Fight Pit meets tribal combat. Nothing is confirmed. But one thing is clear, WWE is leaning all the way into this civil war, and with Reigns finally back in play, the chessboard is starting to move. The WWE universe has erupted in debate. Roman and Jacob Fatu on the same side? That's too much power. Solo Sikoa is the future. Reigns had his time. Let the new era rise. Jimmy is finally going to be redeemed. Where's Jey Uso in all of this? Ah yes. Jey Uso, the man who walked away from it all. Who declared himself done with the Bloodline. The man who refused to choose between family and self-respect. And now, as the war lines form, the name Jey continues to trend, because if he returns, and that's a big if, he may very well be the tiebreaker in this entire conflict. Will he fight alongside his brother Jimmy? Will he side with Roman once more? Or could Jey choose to take down both sides and finish what he started last summer? Roman Reigns has made his move. Jacob Fatu has arrived. Solo Sikoa is preparing his retaliation, and the WWE is heading straight for its most personal, most violent, and most family-driven war in modern history. This isn't just a storyline, this is legacy warfare, played out in front of millions, with egos, titles, and blood on the line. And trust me, this is far from over. So if you're not already subscribed, do it. Now, turn on your notifications, drop your predictions in the comments, and buckle up, because the next chapter in the Bloodline Civil War is coming fast, and when it hits, the island will never be the same. He sat in silence for a full 10 seconds before saying a single word. Solo Sikoa bruised. Unapologetic. Focused. He doesn't need pyro. He doesn't need theme music. He just needs a target, and now, he has two. Roman Reigns, and Jacob Fatu. Roman, I gave you everything. And when it was time for you to give back, you vanished. Left me to rebuild the house you let burn. So I did it my way. With real ones. Ones who fight, not sit on a throne and talk about legacy. He adjusts the chain around his neck. Jacob Fatu? You ain't a savior. You're a dog off the leash. And Roman just handed you a bone. He stands, revealing a Bloodline logo torn and burned across the back of his jacket. You want to fight for the Bloodline? I fight for the island, and if it comes to war, you better bring more than words. This was no empty threat. Solo Sikoa has declared himself the true heir to the Anoa'i dynasty, not by bloodline, not by hierarchy, but by force. He's not just fighting for dominance. He's fighting to tear down the old regime and raise something savage in its place, and that's exactly why WWE has just made it official. For years, the Bloodline has dominated WWE. But it's no longer one faction. It's two. And it's time this war finds its battleground. He pauses. On the next Premium Live event, WWE, Battle for the Island, the future of the Bloodline will be decided. You heard it right. An entire PLE dedicated to the Bloodline Civil War. And not just any matches, these will be personal, tribal, brutal contests where family meets fury. WWE is keeping the match card under wraps, but Backstage insiders are already leaking possible scenarios: Roman Reigns, Jacob Fatu and Jimmy Uso vs Solo Sikoa, Tama Tonga and Tanga Loa, Braun Breaker vs Jeff Cobb in a no-DQ Samoan street fight, and one huge wildcard teased for the main event, because all signs point to the possible return of Jey Uso. He walked away from all of it. The manipulation. The gaslighting. The war between blood and brotherhood. Jey Uso told the world he was done. But that was before Solo tried to erase Jimmy, before Roman returned to reclaim the narrative, before Jacob Fatu brought the fire back, and now, Jey Uso is the name on everyone's lips. Some say he's the only one who can restore balance to the family. Others believe he's coming back with vengeance in his heart, ready to end both sides and become the new alpha. Either way, his silence has never been louder. Behind the scenes, tensions are boiling. Several WWE superstars, including Cody Rhodes and Seth Rollins, are reportedly furious that the Bloodline saga has once again taken over the main event scene. Cody, who was promised a rematch for the undisputed WWE title, is said to be extremely unhappy that the spotlight has shifted. Rollins, who continues to position himself as the architect of the new era, has demanded a match against Solo Sikoa at Battle for the Island. One that may end up determining who controls the future of SmackDown. But for all the politics, all the contract talks, and all the boardroom drama, this story isn't about business anymore. It's about blood, loyalty, payback. And when Roman Reigns, Jacob Fatu, Jimmy Uso, and possibly Jey all converge on the same battlefield, the only guarantee is that someone won't walk out the same. As WWE cameras cut away from the Raw broadcast, a shocking post-show moment sent the crowd into a frenzy. Jacob Fatu was seen walking through the backstage corridors, with none other than Paul Heyman trailing behind him. Heyman, the same man who orchestrated Roman's dominance. The same man who stood by Solo after the betrayal. The same man whose loyalty now seems very, very unclear. Was it a negotiation? A trap? A reunion? No one knows, but what's clear is this: Paul Heyman is back in the mix, and wherever he goes, power shifts, often violently. The stage is set, the island is marked. And every generation of the Anoa'i bloodline is preparing for war. Roman Reigns, Solo Sikoa, Jacob Fatu, Jimmy Uso, possibly Jey and Paul Heyman. He might just hold the detonator to blow the whole thing sky high, and when it does, the only thing more dangerous than who fights is who survives. Ladies and gentlemen, this is not a drill. Triple H is here, and he's about to reveal the official card for the most personal WWE event of the decade, Battle for the Island. For over 3 years, the Bloodline has ruled WWE. They broke records, made history, and then, they broke each other. He pauses. At Battle for the Island, it ends. There will be no interference. No outside alliances. Just family, in the most violent, personal war this company has ever sanctioned. He lifts the contract folder, and here is your main event. The crowd explodes. Chants of Bloodline. Bloodline, erupt. 3-on-3. No backup. No rules. A battlefield soaked in legacy, betrayal, and redemption. But Triple H isn't finished. There's one more match, and it's the most uncertain of them all. Because earlier today, I received a call. He didn't say much. He just said, "Tell them I'm back." But I'm not picking a side. So at Battle for the Island, the match is official, the Titantron flickers. A single phrase appears, the building shakes. JUSO is back, but who is his opponent? What did he mean by not picking a side? The possibilities are endless and terrifying. Could it be a triple threat? A wild card from outside the family? Or is Jay simply baiting the bloodline into implosion? Jimmy, you've stood by Roman before. You've also betrayed him. Last week, Jacob Fatu saved your life. Where do you stand going into this war? I stand where my brother stands. Which brother? Jimmy walks off, the cracks are everywhere, and with every promo, every stare down. Battle for the Island grows more dangerous, but the final twist didn't come from Roman, or Solo, or even Jey.it came from Heyman. For years, I was the wise man. I advised the head of the table. I survived Brock Lesnar. I guided Roman Reigns through the fire. But now? He leans forward, whispering, now I decide which fire burns hottest. He sets a contract on the table with two logos, WWE and JPW. Wait, what? Is Paul Heyman negotiating with outside forces? Is this war about to include the unthinkable, cross-promotional infiltration, with Jeff Cobb and Tama Tonga already representing the New Japan Strong Influence? Fans are now buzzing with rumors. Could a Bullet Club OG enter the fray? Could this war spill beyond WWE's control? Let's break it down. At Battle for the Island. Roman Reigns returns to the ring for the first time in months. Jacob Fatu makes his official WWE debut match. Solo Sikoa leads a rebellion he believes is righteous. JUSO fights without loyalty, and maybe against both sides. Paul Heyman plays puppet master behind the scenes. This is no longer a simple bloodline breakup. This is a generational reckoning. A civil war laced with secrets, manipulated by loyalty, and shadowed by a storm neither side fully understands. And the scariest part, no one knows who walks out with the crown. Legacy is earned in fire, family is tested in war. The island is watching. The air was thick. Not with smoke or pyrotechnics, but with tension. Pure, ancestral tension. Every seat in the arena was filled, every eye glued to the entrance ramp. WWE's most sacred battleground had transformed into something else tonight. This wasn't a wrestling show anymore. This was a family reckoning. There were no flashy cold opens. No comedy segments. The show started cold, raw. The tribal drums echoed through the speakers. And then, the lights went black. The camera panned to the backstage hallway, where Roman Reigns stood in silence. No one flanked him. No Paul Heyman. No security. Just the tribal chief in a black hoodie, eyes forward, fists clenched. He exhaled once. Then began walking toward the curtain. The moment his music hit, the crowd erupted. Months of silence. Whispers of retirement. Rumors of injury. All washed away by the sound of the first note. Roman Reigns walked through the smoke, a man stripped of gold but still cloaked in presence. Behind him, Jacob Fatu and Jimmy USO followed, their faces unreadable. This wasn't about theatrics. This was about blood. Their opponents came next. Solo Sikoa emerged like a walking war drum. Unshaken, eyes filled with cold rage. Tama Tonga and Tanga Loa weren't far behind, both armed with steel chains wrapped around their wrists. This wasn't an entrance. This was an invasion. No ring announcer read the match rules. There were none. No time limits. No pinfalls required. This wasn't sanctioned as a contest. It was war under tribal combat rules. The bell never rang. But once the 6 men were in the ring, the violence began. Roman and Solo met in the center first. No talking. No trash. Just fists. Years of tension exploding with every blow. Fatu flew into Tanga Loa with a corner splash so hard it rattled the LED posts. Jimmy USO hit Tama with a Samoan drop onto a steel chair. This wasn't structured tag wrestling. It was chaos. Beautiful, brutal chaos. Solo drove Roman's head into the announce table. Again. Again. then lifted him and hit a Samoan spike straight to the throat. Reigns crumpled. But before Solo could follow through, Fatu came flying off the barricade with a sentence splash that crushed both men into the commentary desk. It didn't break. They did. Tama Tonga introduced a kendo stick, whipping Jimmy Uso across the back with each swing. Tanga Loa powerbombed Fatu onto the steel steps. But then, Roman rose. Like a ghost dragging himself from the grave. He pulled Solo by the hair and whispered something. Solo paused for half a second. Then spat in Roman's face. The moment froze. Roman's eyes went dark. He tackled Solo into the LED barricade so violently the lights inside the screen flickered. He didn't stop. Punch after punch. Each one louder than the last. There were no words. Just fists and silence. In the ring, Jacob Fatu rose, dripping blood from a cut over his eye. He screamed something in Samoan before spearing Tama through a table in the corner. Jimmy Uso climbed the top rope and landed the Uso splash on Tanga Loa, only to be yanked off by Solo, who delivered a spine-shattering runnage onto the exposed wood under the ring mat. Bodies were everywhere. The camera tried to follow but couldn't keep up. For minutes, it was just destruction. The kind of violence that makes fans stop cheering and start staring. People weren't watching a match. They were witnessing a legacy collapse in real time. Then, everything stopped, the lights dimmed. The Titantron flickered. A single voice echoed through the arena, "I'm not here for either of you." And then the screen turned black. A beat later, main event Jey Uso walked through the crowd, hoodie up, eyes locked on the ring. He didn't run. He walked. Steady. Measured. Cold. The crowd went insane. Roman looked stunned. Jimmy stopped moving. Solo didn't blink. Jey stepped over the barricade and climbed the apron. He looked at Roman. Then at Jimmy. Then at Solo. Then he superkicked Jacob Fatu. The arena gasped. Roman shouted. Jimmy looked heartbroken, but Jey wasn't finished. He dropped Solo with a neckbreaker. Then hit a diving splash on Tama Tonga. In a blur of movement, he'd just laid waste to all. Private security detail. Not for his protection, but to make sure he doesn't detonate anything before Roman returns. Speaking of which, new footage has surfaced. Security camera stills, leaked, of course, showing Roman Reigns arriving at a private hangar in Tampa. Dressed in black. No entourage. No smile. Just silence. Witnesses say he walked straight from the SUV to a waiting jet, nodded once to a WWE agent, and disappeared into the night. Destination unknown. But there's one belief growing stronger backstage. Roman is about to make his return not as the head of the table, but as the executioner, because he's not coming back to reclaim control. He's coming back to punish everyone who destroyed what he built. Sources say he's furious with Solo for losing grip. Livid with Jacob and Tama for their insubordination. And perhaps most of all, done with Heyman. Roman's trust was currency. And it was spent. One insider said, Roman Reigns is coming back to bury someone. We just don't know who yet. And that uncertainty has triggered panic among the roster. Superstars not involved in the Bloodline saga are asking to be moved to different storylines. Some want to be reassigned to Raw. Others are pulling out of future SmackDown tapings. Not because of fear of injury, but fear of getting caught in the blast radius of what's coming. In the meantime, Jacob Fatu and Tama Tonga are only growing stronger. Last night, during a live event in Houston, the lights cut out mid-show. When they returned, a banner dropped from the rafters, a Bloodline crest, slashed down the center, with the words, "We never needed you," painted in red. It wasn't sanctioned. It wasn't part of the show. And no one has claimed responsibility, but fans knew. And they exploded online. The #NewBloodline movement has gone viral. Fans are now choosing sides in droves, some clinging to the original dynasty Roman Reigns forged, others chanting for revolution with Jacob and Tama at the helm. T-shirts, signs, even tattoos are appearing. Tribal uprising, Fatu's era, Tama rules. This isn't just a storyline anymore. It's a movement, and if WWE doesn't harness it, it might consume them internally, Triple H has reportedly greenlit a controversial idea, a live, unsanctioned summit on SmackDown. All factions. All members. One ring. No moderators. No microphones. Just presence. It's being billed privately as The Reckoning. But no official announcement has been made. Not yet. Because no one knows if Roman Reigns will show up, and everyone knows, if he does, someone's getting hurt. Roman is a strategist. A punisher. A man who doesn't speak unless every word is laced with dominance. But this time, he's not coming back with strategy. He's coming back for retribution. He gave the Bloodline everything. A dynasty. A legacy. And in return, they gave him betrayal, and maybe, that's the most painful part of all, not the physical destruction, not the ratings wars. But the realization that everything he fought for, every battle, every promo, every steel chair to the back, was for a family that never stayed loyal. So when Roman Reigns returns, the tribal chief may not walk through that curtain, he may walk through as something far more terrifying. A lone wolf with nothing to lose, and that, in the world of WWE, is the most dangerous man alive. So here we are. At the edge of history, Solo Sikoa, bruised, bitter, desperate for redemption. Jacob Fatu, a monster. With a mission and the will to watch the empire fall. Tama Tonga, the sword that cuts through lies with every super kick. Paul Heyman, a man surrounded by enemies, holding no cards, and praying for forgiveness. And Roman Reigns, the storm no one can predict. The Bloodline isn't about family anymore. It's about power. It's about survival. And when that final confrontation comes, when the lights dim, the crowd rises, and the music hits, it won't be about who sits at the table anymore. It'll be about who walks out of the war still breathing. The echoes of war don't fade quietly in WWE. They ricochet, and now, as the dust settles, or pretends to, one thing becomes chillingly clear: this isn't over. Not even close. Because in a world built on blood and betrayal, scars don't heal. They harden. And grudges don't die. They evolved. In the aftermath of the Bloodline's implosion, the entire WWE universe is holding its breath, waiting for what feels like an inevitable explosion. But the pieces are moving fast, and none of them are predictable anymore. Jacob Fatu and Tama Tonga have gone from pariahs to revolutionaries. Their ambush wasn't just rebellion, it was strategic. They picked their moment. They shattered the power dynamic. And now, they're building something terrifying, a new kingdom with no rules and no respect for the legacy that came before them. Reports from inside WWE's Performance Center suggest that Jacob and Tama are recruiting. Quietly. Aggressively. They're not just looking for followers. They're looking for believers, people who want to see the old regime fall. And according to one anonymous coach, they're getting them. The locker room isn't what it used to be. People are tired. Tired of being pawns in Roman's empire. Even more shocking? They're not limiting themselves to men. Whispers are growing louder that the new movement may involve a female enforcer, someone just as deadly, just as connected to the family, and just as overlooked. Could it be Naomi? Could it be Ava Raine? Could the new Bloodline, this tribal uprising, become the most dangerous co-ed faction in WWE history? And yet, amidst this chaos, there's one voice we haven't heard. Roman Reigns. No tweet, no promo, no return, just that lingering image of him boarding a private jet. It's driving the WWE universe mad. Social media has turned into a fever dream of speculation. Is Roman watching? Is he planning something bigger? Is he simply waiting for everyone to turn on each other before he delivers the final blow? But Roman's silent.